Hi everyone, I'm Shanti, the artist behind Shanti Fine Arts. Today I'm going to review water-soluble graphite pencils from Faber Castell and demonstrate how I did the painting with those graphite pencils. And since it is around the Memorial Day, I chose a theme appropriate for Memorial. Here's what the Faber Castell Aquarelle set consists of. Pencils HB, 2B, 4B, 6B and 8B, so 5 pencils, and a paintbrush, the pretty decent one, and a sharpener. I do not really care about the sharpener, but everything else is top-notch. So all you would need is a paper to paint on and some erasers. Next up is swatches. I have swatched out all the pencils from 2B to 4B twice and also a few lines. This is how it looks dry, but once you put water on it, you will see how nicely it blends. It becomes very smooth, which always gives you an advantage more than regular graphite, that even if you do not carefully put it in the right direction and all that, just because of the water, it will blend really nicely. It also gets a little bit darker when the water is applied, so be careful on how dark you want to put your pencil on. Next, let's take a look at the individual lines and what happens when you put water on it. You will see that it lifts quite a bit, it blends quite a bit, but it does not completely lift off. So that is one thing to be wary of, that some of it would lift off, but not all of it would reactivate and lift off 100%. That is one thing to note. Same with the swatches, not all of it will lift off completely. So that's an overall idea about the watercolor or rather water-soluble graphite pencils, the aquarelle pencils. Now on to the project. You can see that I am starting off with 2B pencil. I always like to start off with the 2B pencils when generally putting just some graphite on in any area. And if it had been an actual graphite drawing, I would have put in tons and tons of time getting every line perfect and not changing directions and trying to be very precise on how I'm putting the graphite on. But because it is aquarelle, water-soluble graphite, and I know that once I take the brush, dip it in water and put it on the surface of the paper, of the water on the surface of the paper with the brush, everything will blend off very nicely. And even if it doesn't blend off very nicely at the first layer, then again you can add additional layers of graphite and adjust the darkness, rather increase the darkness and get a smooth blend in the subsequent layers. So that is obviously something I really think is an advantage of this water-soluble graphite pencils over actual graphite, regular graphite pencils, that even if you are not supremely careful about your pencil strokes and directions and everything, you will still end up having a nicely blended and smooth finish. And I think the next project I do with this graphite pencils would be a portrait, and I will show you how nicely it will work with skin. But now let's just focus on the current project at hand. So you can see that how the water blends off everything nicely, and you can see that even with the water I'm kind of being sketchy, not trying to blend very nicely, because I know that I want the background to be really dark, so I will put on additional layers of graphite and make it quite a bit dark, so lots of layers will go on. So I'm not worried about how smooth the blending is currently. If I wanted a very nice smooth blending, I probably would have gone with a very bigger brush that would get me that blending. Now on to the first boot. Once again I am starting with the 2B pencils to first put on some graphite in the nooks and crannies. The harder the pencil, the
the more pressure you require. However, it is always great to start with the harder leads, because you want to go from light to dark, because whether it is a regular graphite pencil or a water soluble graphite pencil, it is always easier to go darker than to lift off graphite, whether it is water soluble or not, and go lighter. Kind of works like watercolor. Lifting off the paint is not that easy, so it's better to go from light to dark. That's why I like to start with 2B, and then in the subsequent layers I bring in 4Bs, 6Bs, 8Bs, depending on which area I want so much dark. The areas that I want supremely dark, I add a lot of 8B in the end. But to start with, I will always start with 2B pencils and then slowly build up the area. Now you can see that I'm moving on to a different area, and I will work boot by boot, but I will move from segment to segment because I want to make sure that the painting of each boot is cohesive in itself, that from top to bottom it kind of looks like the same boot, and I do not get like one area too dark and not cohesive with the rest of the area of the shoe. So that being said, it is kind of important that you kind of work from top to bottom, at least on the same boot in this case. Like you can see, I'm adding on much more darker layer of pencil. I think at this point I'm working with 6B. Not sure about that anymore, but anyways, you can see how dark it is going now. And once I add the water with the brush, it will go even darker. And you can see that when I'm adding more water, some of the previous layers do reactivate and lift off a little bit, but it does not lift off quite a bit. So it is not like watercolor that if you are not very careful about layering, it will all come off and become muddy. That's not what this is about. And another great thing about these graphite pencils is that, unlike other water soluble pencils like watercolor pencils alone, whether they are used dry or wet, they are extremely light fast ratings are great. So whatever artwork you are producing is archival and top notch. So if you are a professional artist and want to sell your work, sell your originals, then this is perfect. So that is another advantage. And really, this is the cheapest art supply that you can ever buy. This is probably something that anybody can afford. I do not exactly remember what price was it when I bought, but I have put a link of all the materials that I've used in the video description below, so you can check out that link and find out what is its current price. But trust me, there is no other medium that is as cheap as graphite or this water-soluble aquarelle graphite pencils. So that is definitely worth something if you are a newbie, and if you are just wanting to see whether you can draw or paint and not sure whether you want to do it in the long term or not, then this is a good medium to invest in, because even if you're not going to do it more than a couple of times, then that is not a lot of money lost. And even if you do not care for the medium and that is why you do not continue on it, still there is not a lot of medium loss. So this is one medium that is you can always try and see if that works for you. Continuing on to the second boot, following the same exact principle, starting from the light, then building layers towards darkness, starting from the 2B and moving on to 4B, 6B, and 8B, and getting enough layers and enough darkness. Building up contrast in graphite is most important. Unless you have the real lights and darks and powerful contrast, graphite will not look right because it is all black and white. Although I'm working on a toned paper. This is a Strathmore Mixed Media toned tan paper. So I have a light tint on the paper, which I thought would look very nice with this worn out boots, and will give the vintage look and the look that I'm going for. Kind of will take you down the memory lane and all that beautiful stuff associated with the great martyrs who work so much hard and are so brave and put in their lives to save us, keep us safe. At this point, I'm coming on to the end of the painting almost. So first laying some darks and lights with the Faber Castell Aquarelle pencils. I'll blend it off as well, and then finally I will add in a tint of color with the Charmin pastel sticks, but I'll come to that in a little bit. So I'm still working with my Faber Castell graphite pencils, and like I said, it's blending off smoothly and creating that lights and darks. It is not absolutely required to add that tint of color, but I thought that, you know, in the spirit of the holiday, I would like to add some color to it and make it look like the flag. So here's my Charvin Watersoluble pastel painting sticks. It comes in a set of 24. It is once again another extremely affordable art supply. If you want to give it a try, it works and behaves pretty much like a hard pastel sticks. The best part of that is that unlike hard pastel sticks, it is reactivated by water and it is water soluble, so blends wonderfully. And this is also light fast, and it will go very well with my water soluble graphite pencils, the aquarelle pencils. So the entire project will be archival, light fast, so I went for it. So that's about it. I'm tinting the flag, and once the flag is tinted with the colors blue, red and white, my painting will be complete. So if you have liked this painting and liked the review, do not forget to give me a thumbs up and also subscribe so that you get a notification whenever I post a new video, which is twice every week. Every single week I post 2 tutorials, reviews and other art vlogs and art related videos in general. So do not forget to subscribe and smash the bell to get the notifications. I hope you liked it, and let me know in your comments whether or what other information you would like to have. Thank you.